They were laughing at me when the manager walked over. 5 seconds later, they weren't laughing anymore. We were halfway through appetizers when Daniel said it. Loud enough for the whole table, and the next one, to hear. "Naomi, how's the broke life treating you?" My parents laughed. I didn't. I sipped my water and stared at my plate, trying not to react. "I'd heard worse," Elaine, my mother, added. "You're always so secretive about what you do. We just assume there's not much to share." Another laugh. Another blow. I smiled. That silent, practiced smile daughters like me master when they're being stabbed gently in public. They invited me to this dinner. Said they wanted to reconnect. I knew better. These dinners were always a performance, one where I played the role of the family failure. My brother, Daniel, the golden child. Me, the ghost they keep around for contrast. The waitress brought more wine. My father raised his glass. To Daniel, closing another deal. "We're so proud of you, son." No one looked in my direction. I tapped my fingers against my knee. It used to hurt. Now, it just confirmed what I already knew. I glanced around the restaurant. Candlelit tables. Crystal glasses. Soft jazz playing through hidden speakers. They thought they were treating me to a luxury I couldn't afford. What they didn't know was, I'd been here before. Dozens of times. The difference was, I usually entered through the side door. Not as a guest. As the owner. My company, a boutique event management firm, had acquired partial ownership of this place last year. I kept my name off the public listing. That decision was about to pay off. Daniel leaned closer, smirking. "Still pretending you're a businesswoman?" He chuckled. "You should really just get a job, Naomi. You're not fooling anyone." I looked at him. For the first time in years, I saw him not as my brother, but as a man desperate to feel taller by standing on my silence. I was about to excuse myself when I saw James, the manager, walking toward us. He looked surprised, then excited. "Miss Lewis," he said, nodding respectfully. "So good to see you." My family blinked. I smiled softly. "Nice to see you too, James." James glanced at the table, then back at me. "We have your usual table available if you'd prefer a quieter space." He looked directly at me. Only me. Not Daniel. Not Elaine. Me. The one they called broke 10 minutes ago. My mother's face dropped. My father looked confused. Daniel frowned. "Wait, what?" he asked. James turned politely to him. "Apologies, sir. Miss Lewis is one of our executive partners. We always keep a private space ready when she's here." The table went silent. I stood slowly. Gathered my bag. "Thank you, James. That sounds perfect." And as I walked away, not one of them moved, not one of them laughed. I was the oldest. The quiet one. The "she'll figure it out" daughter. While Daniel got driving lessons and a new laptop, I got lectures about being too sensitive and not asking for much. I took up less space because they taught me that was love. From the time we were teenagers, the favoritism wasn't subtle, it was policy. Daniel was sharp, even when he failed classes. I was distracted, even when I excelled. If I succeeded, it was expected. If he did, it was celebrated. When I told them I wanted to start my own business, my mother didn't even look up from her phone. "Are you sure?" she said. "That sounds unstable." My father laughed. "Why not just marry someone who owns a business?" They believed in structure, not vision. Daniel went into finance. They understood that. They could explain it at parties. I started working weddings and events, learning every corner of the industry, from setting up chairs to negotiating vendor contracts. They called it a phase. I stopped telling them about my milestones. The first time a client doubled my rate. The first time I booked a celebrity event. The first time I paid my rent without checking my account. None of it mattered. Because none of it involved Daniel. Every family dinner became a quiet humiliation. "Still doing that little thing?" they'd ask. They never remembered the name of my company. They never asked how I was really doing. But they always asked if I had met anyone. "You don't want to end up alone, Naomi." Alone. That word used to sting. Until I realized being surrounded by people who belittle you feels lonelier than any silence. I moved out at 24. No help. No farewell dinner. Just silence and a box of takeout. Daniel got a lease signed by my father. I got a good luck text. At 26, I hired my first employee. At 27, I bought a 10% share in one of the venues we partnered with. Including the restaurant we were sitting in that night. I didn't tell a soul. Because I knew what they'd say. Must be nice to get lucky. They called me secretive. I called it survival. Because some truths are too sacred to hand to people who only sharpen them into weapons. I stayed polite. Present. Just enough to not be erased completely. But never enough to be real. I existed in their lives like a blurry figure in the background of a perfect photo, and still, a part of me hoped that maybe one day they'd ask, "How are you, Naomi?" Really. They never did. So I stopped hoping, and I started building. The older I got, the louder the jokes became. "Naomi the mystery," Daniel would say at family gatherings. "She's got a secret billionaire boyfriend or something, right?" Everyone laughed. I laughed too. Because if I didn't, they'd say I was too serious. Again, every conversation with my mother came with a side of shame. "Why don't you post more? People think you're hiding something." She didn't mean friends. She meant family. She meant, "We don't know what you do, so we assume it's not much." At one birthday dinner, Daniel raised his glass and toasted me with, "To Naomi, our family's quiet genius. If she ever tells us what she actually does, we might believe it." I smiled. My father clapped. My mother added, "She's always been private. Almost secretive." Like it was a flaw. It wasn't just the jokes. It was the tone. The way they looked at me when I walked in, sizing up my clothes. The fake concern. "Are you okay? You look tired." Or, "We were just talking about how you never ask for anything. Isn't that strange?" I once offered to host a holiday party. My mother declined. "Daniel's place is bigger. And cleaner. And more, professional." She meant, more visible. More Instagram friendly. I had decorated luxury venues they couldn't afford to walk into. But that didn't matter. When I offered to help with their anniversary dinner, they said, "Just bring wine." I brought a bottle that cost more than their meal. They didn't notice. They made a joke about the label being fake. I laughed. I always laughed. I stopped talking about work. The last time I mentioned a client, my father interrupted, "Are you still doing events?" I thought that was just a side gig. It was never curiosity. It was dismissal disguised as interest. What hurt most was how often they did it in public. In front of family, friends, waiters, new dates. "Naomi's our mystery child," my mom would say with a wink. "No husband, no job, we understand, but somehow still around." I started arriving late and leaving early. I sat at the edge of tables. In group photos, I was either cropped out or holding the camera. When I didn't show up, no one called. When I did, I was decoration, and Daniel, he made it worse. "You could do what I do, if you wanted to," he once said. "You're just too artsy." Then he added, "But hey, someone's gotta keep the family humble, right?" I wanted to disappear. But I also wanted them to see me. Not as the problem. Not as the background. As a person, but I knew better. They didn't want to see me, they wanted me silent, so their version of the story could stay intact. It started with a text from my mother, "Let's have dinner, just us. Family time." I should have known better. But something in me still wanted to believe. That maybe this time, they'd listen. That maybe the jokes would stop. I said yes. We met at one of the nicest restaurants in the city. Candlelight, velvet booths, the kind of place people post photos just for being there. I knew it well. I'd coordinated 3 private events in that same space just last quarter. But to them, I was just a guest. The waiter greeted me like everyone else. No fanfare. I was early, they were late. When they arrived, my mother kissed my cheek like she hadn't criticized my outfit last time. My father asked if I'd parked far from the train station. I drove. They assumed I couldn't. Daniel arrived last. Loud. Confident. He kissed our mom, nodded at our dad, and grinned at me. "Hey, mystery girl. You still doing whatever it is you do?" His voice carried. People turned. My jaw clenched. The waiter came back with the wine menu. Daniel grabbed it. "Don't worry, I got this. Naomi probably can't cover a glass of water here." My parents laughed. Loudly. Like it was harmless. Like it was love. My chest tightened. I said nothing. I smiled politely. That was the game. Play along or be labeled bitter. I picked up my water and pretended I didn't feel my skin burn. That's when the manager, James, stepped out from the back. His eyes scanned the room. Then landed on me. His face lit up. He walked straight toward our table. "Miss Lewis," he said warmly. "I didn't know you were joining us tonight." My mother looked up, confused. "You two know each other?" James smiled. "Absolutely. Miss Lewis is one of our key partners. We're always honored to have her here." Silence. The same kind that follows a slap. Except no hand had been raised. Just the truth, spoken publicly. Daniel blinked. "Wait. Naomi owns part of this place?" His voice cracked. My father looked at me like he was seeing a stranger. My mother's mouth opened, but no sound came out. James gestured gently. "We have your usual table ready in the back, if you'd prefer something more private." I looked at my family. 3 people who had spent years making me feel small. I stood up. "That sounds perfect. Thank you, James." No one stopped me. No one followed, they came to laugh at me, they stayed to watch me leave. The private table was quiet. Tucked away in the back, dimly lit, surrounded by glass and green plants. I sat down, hands resting gently on the linen napkin. My heart wasn't racing. My hands weren't shaking. It wasn't a breakdown. It was something colder. The waiter brought me a glass of wine, my favorite, already known. I sipped slowly, watching the candle flicker. I wasn't angry. I wasn't proud. I was exhausted. Not from the moment, but from everything that led to it. I had spent years begging for their respect without using words. Through good behavior. Through showing up. Through staying quiet while they made jokes that landed like bruises. Tonight, I saw clearly, I was never going to be enough for people committed to misunderstanding me. I didn't regret standing up. I regretted ever sitting down with them in the first place. I remembered being 12, sitting at the dinner table. While Daniel talked about his math test and my parents praised him for trying. I had just won an essay contest. No one asked about it. I told myself I'd try harder. That wasn't the last time they told me I was distant. But they taught me how to disconnect. They trained me to smile while being erased. To keep the peace by cutting off parts of myself. What they called family was just control. I looked at the empty chair across from me. I thought about what I would have said if any of them had followed me. I built this while you weren't looking. You thought you were ignoring a failure. You were dismissing a foundation. But they didn't come, and that said everything. I checked my phone. No messages. Not even from Daniel. He was probably still at the table, trying to spin the moment. My mother would call it rude. My father would shrug. They'd blame me for embarrassing them. They always did, but I wasn't embarrassed. I was done. I asked the server to box my meal. I didn't need to sit through another course. I had already swallowed enough silence for a lifetime. When I walked out of the restaurant, the air felt different. Lighter. Colder. Real. I didn't look back. Not at the table. Not at the people who raised me. Not at the past I used to beg to belong to. That night, I didn't go home. I drove to the waterfront. Parked. Rolled down the windows. Listened to the wind. And whispered the truth I'd been carrying for years. They don't get to define me anymore. I spent the weekend sorting through everything. Emails. Texts. Old photos. I wasn't digging for proof to show them, I was confirming what I already knew. That I had spent years in plain sight while they acted like I was a rumor. There was a group chat with extended family. I hadn't been in it for months. Scrolling up, I saw the familiar pattern, photos of Daniel's new apartment, his job, his weekend trips. So proud of our boy, my mom wrote once. No mention of me. Not even a, how's Naomi? I found a photo of us from last Christmas. Daniel front and center, my parents beside him. I was at the edge, half out of frame. I remembered that night. I had brought dessert. Paid for dinner when the bill was short. They posted the photo. Cropped me out on Instagram. There was a voicemail from my dad. Your brother needs help with rent. Think you can pitch in? You're the only one with flexibility. I had helped. No one followed up. No one paid me back. That's when I realized, I was the family safety net, not a member. I looked at my calendar from the year before. I'd worked 73 events. Some with six-figure budgets. Others for people no one knew, but who treated me with more respect in one email than my own family had in a decade. Then I found the moment that broke something in me. A video Daniel posted, months ago, mocking entrepreneurs. Everyone's a CEO now, he laughed into the camera. Even my sister thinks she runs an empire. But she won't even say what she does. Thousands of views. Hundreds of likes. My mother commented, "You're too much," face with tears of joy. It wasn't just jokes. It was a script. One they all performed. I was the ghost. The vague one. The one who never settled down. They had built an entire version of me, fragile, lost, directionless, and fed it to everyone who'd listen, but I had the receipts. My business license. My client contracts. The spreadsheet with event bookings, budgets, testimonies. I printed it all. Not to confront them. But to look at something real. Something I built while they looked away. For every comment they made about me being broke, I had an invoice that could cover their mortgage. For every birthday they skipped, I had photos of celebrations I hosted for strangers who became family. For every table they left me out of, I had built my own. They thought my silence was shame, but it was discipline. They thought I was hiding failure. I was protecting power. I didn't plan revenge. I prepared presence. Visible, undeniable, quiet power. The kind they couldn't laugh off or crop out. No confrontations. No speeches. Just a redirection of where my energy went, from seeking approval to owning space. I updated the company website. For the first time, I added a founder's note with my full name. A press feature followed weeks later. Meet Naomi Lewis, the mind behind NYC's most discreet luxury events brand. The title alone did the talking. People noticed. Clients shared the article. A friend of my cousin reposted it. My aunt sent a message, "Why didn't you ever tell us? This is incredible." I didn't reply. They didn't ask when it mattered. They saw me now because someone else held the spotlight. Then came the interview. A short video for a business platform. I spoke plainly. About building alone. About not being taken seriously. About being underestimated in my own home. I didn't name names. But the story was mine. And everyone watching recognized the weight. 2 days after the video went viral, Daniel texted, "Damn, so you're like, actually legit?" I left it on read. Not out of spite, out of peace. I didn't know him access to the woman he used to mock. My mother called next. I didn't pick up. Her voicemail was careful. "We're so proud of you. Wish you told us. Let's do dinner soon." I saved it. Not as proof of love. But as a trophy. The silence had flipped out. I sent her one message back. Just a link to the video. No words. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. The restaurant reached out to collaborate on an exclusive event. They wanted to name a private room after one of our clients. I said no. I offered a different name, the Lewis Room. When asked why, I smiled. It's about reclaiming space. Weeks later, my name appeared in a magazine they subscribed to. I imagined them flipping the page. Seeing the same last name. Realizing the story wasn't theirs to control anymore, and at the next family event, I showed up late. Confident. Dressed in a black silk suit, no explanations, no excuses. When people asked, "What do you do?" I just said, "I build things." Daniel tried to joke. "She's the mysterious boss now." Someone next to him corrected, "Not mysterious. Just focused." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The room had already shifted, and I had already won. My peace didn't come all at once. It arrived slowly, like light through closed blinds. A kind of quiet that didn't ask me to explain or defend. A silence that felt earned. Sacred. Real. I moved into a new space. Minimalist. Sunlit. No family photos on the shelves, only memories I chose to frame. I hosted my first private dinner there. My team came. My clients. Friends who had seen me when I was still invisible to the people who were supposed to know me best. We toasted. Not to revenge. But to presence. To building without needing permission. To surviving without applause. And thriving without apology. I no longer checked their social media. I didn't need to know what they were saying, or if they were saying anything at all. If they were watching, they could stay in the audience. The stage was mine now. People asked if I'd ever reconnect. Maybe. If they changed. If they truly saw me, not as the disappointment they designed, but as the woman I actually became. But I wasn't waiting. I wasn't hoping. I was living. I walked into places they once said I couldn't afford. Signed contracts with names they worshipped. Attended galas with the very clients they once mocked me for chasing. I didn't gloat. I just showed up. Fully. Authentically. Without shame. Sometimes I wonder what they felt when James said, "Boss." If they replayed that moment. If they looked at each other afterward and questioned everything they'd ever said about me. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Either way, I wasn't there to carry it. I had carried too much for too long. Now, I only carry what's mine. I laugh freely. I sleep well. I dress for me. I order the wine I want. I sit at the center of the table, or not at all. I give only to those who see me, not to those who expect me to stay quiet while they feast on my silence. And when people ask, "What changed?" I tell them the truth, nothing. I was always this. I just stopped asking them to notice. They thought I was broke. They didn't realize I was building something they'd never be invited to.